Hello and welcome to the Past Functional Skills video solutions for the City and Guilds Functional Skills English Level 2 Reading Sample Paper 1. Before watching this video, make sure that you've read the two sources in the insert and you have attempted to complete the paper yourself. Question 1. What are two organisational features that have been used to help the reader locate the four main pieces of advice on keeping resolutions? So here we need to look at document 1 and we need to find two organisational features that help the reader find the main pieces of advice on keeping resolutions. And there are four pieces of advice here, which is going to help us to find the correct organisational features. So organisational features are essentially how the document is formatted to help readers find information and increase the reader's understanding of the text. So we have to locate information here. We need to find the organisational features that are helping us to locate pieces of advice. So we've got four pieces of advice mentioned here. We have do it with a friend. We have don't expect lasting change for at least 3 months. We've got try moving house or at least changing the environment, and finally picking concrete goals. So the organisational features that are used here, well, we've got these subheadings in the centre and we have icons that have been used as well. Little pictures to help the reader find information. So the correct answers here: two organisational features that help the reader to find advice on keeping resolutions as subheadings and images. Question 2. Find two things Suki Tanaka says that suggests she personally struggles to meet her resolution goals. So here we are being asked to look at document 1 and we need to find two things that Suki Tanaka says, and we're focusing on her struggle to meet resolution goals. So first of all, we need to find out who is Suki Tanaka. We can see that she is the writer of this article. And then we need to find anything that suggests that she is finding it difficult to complete resolutions. So she mentions that it's in news that surprises no one, least of all me. Research has shown that around 1/4 of people give up their resolutions after just 1 week. So least of all me here is suggesting that she is struggling to complete her resolutions. She's not surprised that most people give up. And then she says, don't expect lasting change for at least 3 months. She says this one is not as encouraging. So clearly she would find it difficult to keep up lasting change for 3 months. And then she says that no wonder I struggle to stay on target. So she's clearly struggling here. And then finally she says, good luck with your resolutions, and I hope you all have better luck with them than I've had. So if she's wishing them luck with theirs, saying that she hasn't had very good luck with her resolutions. So we've got lots of things that suggest that she's struggling to meet her own resolution goals. And the students identified a couple of things that she says using quotes from the text. They've said, okay, this one is not as encouraging, and I hope you all have better luck with them than I've had. And both of those imply that Suki is struggling to meet her goals. Question 3. Give 3 words or phrases that are opinions from the first paragraph of document 1. So in this question, we need to look specifically only at the first paragraph of document 1. And we need to find 3 words or phrases, so 3 words or short groups of words that are opinions. So let's take a look at the first paragraph of document 1 and find some opinions. So the first paragraph is here, and it says, in news that surprises no one, least of all me, research has shown that around 1/4 of people give up their resolutions after just 1 week, while fewer than 1 in 10 will maintain their goal to the end of the year. So in this sentence, we have both a fact and an opinion. So an opinion is a thought or feeling of the writer that we can agree with or disagree with, whereas a fact is something that can be verified or proven. So we've got an opinion at the start here, in news that surprises no one, least of all me. So because we're talking about an emotion here, surprise, this is an opinion. We can disagree that the news is surprising to no one. We can think it might surprise some people. But then they go on to talk about research and give a statistic here. So that is a fact, definitely not an opinion. So we don't want to be using this part here. That's a fact. Okay, let's keep reading. So what's the reason for this disappointing statistic? Behavioural scientists have discovered that people tend to focus on what they are changing rather than why. Okay, so here they're asking a question. What's the reason for this disappointing statistic? But in the question, we do have an opinion. We've got an emotion here. They're saying that the statistic is disappointing. Now, we could agree or disagree with this opinion. And then we have another fact. Behavioural scientists have discovered that people tend to focus on what they're changing rather than why. So that is something that scientists have discovered. It is a fact that has been verified to be true. And then, but there's good news. Science has shed some much needed light on how to stick to resolutions. So good news is an opinion. Some people might disagree that the news is good. And then science has shed some needed light on how to stick to resolutions. Well, it's a fact that there's been science regarding resolutions, but it is an opinion that this research is much needed. You can argue that it's not very necessary to do research on how to stick to resolutions. So all of these pink parts here, we have opinions that we can agree with or disagree with, the thoughts and feelings of the writer, and the green parts are all facts. So the student has correctly identified 3 words and phrases that are opinions: disappointing statistic, good news, and in news that surprises no one. Question 4. Why does Professor Anya Flores think so many resolutions fail on January 2nd? So here we need to read the document and scan for any mentions of Professor Anya Flores, and then we need to consider why they think that so many resolutions are failing on January 2nd. So we can also scan for January 2nd to find the correct answer here. And we've been given some options. So the first option, the habit has not had long enough to form. The second one, it is not the right time to make a change. The goals set are unrealistic, or there is not enough motivation to succeed. So let's take a look at the document and scan it for why Professor Anya Flores thinks that so many resolutions fail on January 2nd. And when we take a look at the document here, we see that Anya Flores is mentioned down here. And they explain that we studied 800 new goal setters and we found that the recent movers had the most success. Changing your habits can be a nightmare, and finding the right moment to make a change is even worse. Many resolutions made on December 31st and go down the drain on January 2nd. So why do these resolutions go down on the drain on January 2nd? Well, it is because changing your habits can be a nightmare. So it's difficult to find the right moment to make a change. So out of these options here, The habit has not had long enough to form. Well, no, that's not really indicated. B, it is not the right time to make a change. Well, that's definitely been mentioned here. Finding the right moment to make a change can be a nightmare. So that's the correct answer. Anya doesn't say anything about goals being unrealistic or not having enough motivation to succeed. They focus on it being not the right time to make a change, so that's the correct answer here. Question 5. Which one of the following people uses a formal tone throughout their quoted comment in document 1? So we need to look at document 1 in this question and look at the people below. So we've got Professor Lucy Daniels, Professor Ramesh Marto, Professor Anya Flores and Dr. Richard Brown. And we need to find out which one of them is using a formal tone throughout their quoted comment. So when we're looking for something that is formal, we're looking for something that would be written or said in a professional environment. So let's take a look at each of the people and what they say in the document and decide which one is the most formal throughout. So we've got the quotations here. We've got Lucy Daniels and we've got Ramesh Marto, Anya Flores and Richard Brown. So we're going to have a quick scan through and see which one is the most formal. So Lucy Daniels says the Leeds team carried out research involving 15 groups of people who had set themselves a new goal. The research revealed that joint planning helped people commit to new exercise regimes. Moreover, starting something new with a friend significantly increased motivation. So this is definitely formal throughout. And how do we know this? Well, they're not using any slang words. They're using quite sophisticated vocabulary. We've got significantly increased motivation is a good example there. And they've got the research revealed that as well. So this is speaking in an impersonal and formal way using sophisticated vocabulary and standard English. If we have a look at the others, we've got Ramesh Marto saying this means if you make a New Year's resolution and do it daily, it won't become a habit until the end of March, so don't give it up on the gym membership just yet. So this one's quite informal. How do we know this? They've used contractions like won't instead of will not. That's quite an informal thing to do. And don't as well. And they've also used an exclamation here. Exclamations are generally quite informal as well. So speaking in a sort of friendly, relaxed tone to the interviewer there. And then we've got Anya Flores, who says that changing your habits can be a nightmare and finding the right moment to make a change is even worse. Again, we have an exclamation here and they're describing changing habits as a nightmare. That's the kind of thing that you might say to a friend or family member. It's not particularly formal. And then we've got another sort of idiom, slang phrase, down the drain here. So that's quite informal. And then finally, Richard Brown says, it's crucial not to set vague goals, but instead pick clear, achievable targets. So ditch those useless resolutions like get more exercise. So ditch those useless resolutions is particularly informal. It's not particularly sophisticated vocabulary. And again, we've got a contraction being used here. We've got it's. So the correct answer, the one that remains formal throughout the quoted comment, is Professor Lucy Daniels from Leeds University. Question 6. Apart from formal language, identify 2 language techniques used in document 1 to convince the reader the information and advice is trustworthy. And then for each technique, you need to give an example from the document. So this is a 4-mark question, quite a lengthy question here, so let's break it down. Okay, so to start with, apart from formal language, so we're not going to talk about a formal language here, identify 2 language techniques. So language techniques are sort of how the text has been written, what techniques have been used by the writer to create specific effects on the reader. And we are looking at document 1, and we need to find the language techniques that convince the reader the information and advice is trustworthy. So we need to think about what is convincing us here that what the writer is saying is true. So we have some facts and figures. Well, they're definitely going to convince us that the advice is trustworthy. If it's based on facts, we know that we can trust the author. And the student has given a relevant example from the document. Facts and figures, 1 in 10 people. So that is a statistic. Numbers are something that we can trust. We can't disagree with it. It's not an opinion. So facts have been used to justify the advice and information. And then we have another language technique that the students identified, which is direct quotes. So direct quotes from experts are going to make us believe what the writer is saying. And then they've given an example of a direct quote that has been used in the document. So what one of the professors has said about the New Year's resolutions. So here we've got 2 language techniques that are specifically convincing the reader that information and advice is trustworthy, and we've got 2 good examples of this. Question 7. Which one of the following best summarises why the author of document 2 thinks cycling makes a good New Year's resolution? So here we need to read document 2, and we need to find which of the following statements is summarising, giving the best summary of why the author thinks cycling makes a good New Year's resolution. So the options that we've got here are that cycling offers benefits that help you stick to your goals. Some find it easier to meet targets if we do it with friends. There are so many different kinds of greyhound bike, and there are how-to guides available online. So all of this information is true based on the document, but the best summary is that cycling offers benefits that help you stick to your goals. So these are examples of some of the benefits that the writer's mentioning, but overall the best summary is the first one, because we can see that there are lots of different benefits that are mentioned in the subheadings here. So offers benefits that help you stick to your goals, including you can keep your goals manageable, you can choose to ride with friends or alone, you can shake it up, you will love your new bike. So these are all positive benefits that will help you stick to your goals. The others are all correct, but they are not the best summary because they are just individual reasons why cycling is making a good New Year's resolution, rather than the overall message, the summary of the document. Question 8. Give 1 fact about the author of document 2 that suggests his recommendations may be biased. So in this question, we need to find a fact in document 2 that suggests his recommendations might be biased. So we're looking for facts about the author, and we need to find anything that would cause them to have strong opinions about the topic. So if we have a quick look at the document, we can see in the About the Author section, we want to find facts about the author, so that's a good place to look. It says that Mark lives in Oxford with his partner and their 2 naughty dogs, where he enjoys golf and trips to the local bakery. So that doesn't make him particularly biased towards cycling. But then we see that he has been a professional cyclist for 12 years. So if he's been cycling for 12 years for money, then he's probably going to have a strong bias towards cycling here. And he's writing on the Greyhound Bicycles website, where they are trying to advertise their bikes. So he's obviously going to be very biased because of that, because he is a professional cyclist. Question 9. Give 3 examples of the author using a reassuring tone in document 2. So in this question, we need to look at document 2 and find 3 examples, so 3 quotations from the text, where the author has used a reassuring tone. So when we're reassuring someone, we are addressing concerns that they may have in order to make them feel more relaxed. So some examples of this are you can keep your goals manageable. So that's reassuring because it is telling the reader that everything will be okay, they will be able to manage. And then, but that's the amazing thing about cycling, you can choose when you do it. So that's an exclamation with a particularly reassuring tone. It says that you can choose when you do it. It gives the reader some choice, reassures them that they have options. And then we all achieve goals in different ways. Why is this reassuring? Well, it shows the reader that their different ways of doing things are accepted by the writer. So a reassuring tone can be seen in all of these quotations, and there's a few other quotations that you can choose from the text, but make sure that you are focusing on the tone being reassuring. If you're not sure what reassuring means, then you could always have a look in your dictionary to find out. Question 10. The author of document 2 is advising people to choose cycling as a New Year's resolution. What else is he trying to persuade the reader to do? So in this question, we're looking at document 2 and we're trying to find out what the writer is trying to persuade the reader to do, other than advising people to choose cycling. So we don't want to put that as our answer. We're looking at other things that they're trying to persuade the reader to do. So are they trying to get the reader to set a goal to cycle every day? Well, no. They say lots of people make the mistake of thinking that they need to cycle every day, which is a noble idea, but doomed to failure if you happen to hate riding in bad weather. So they're not trying to persuade the reader to do that. They're actually trying to persuade them not to do that. Buy a Greyhound bike. Well, they definitely want the reader to buy a Greyhound bike. They say there's so many different kinds of Greyhound bike and different ways of cycling. They mention Greyhound bikes quite a lot. They say make riding a brand new Greyhound bike your New Year's resolution. So they're trying to advertise Greyhound bikes here. Go cycling with friends. Are they trying to get the reader to do that? Well, it says that you can choose to ride with friends or alone. So they're not suggesting to the reader that they should ride with friends. They're saying that some of us find more success when going it alone. Then we've got cycle for charity. They're definitely trying to persuade the reader to do that. They say that the Bike for Hope charity race, which everyone should try at least once. So they're trying to convince the reader that they should try to do this charity race at least once. Readers' how-to guides. Well, how-to guides are definitely mentioned, but the writer doesn't say that he's written these how-to guides. He just says that there's some available online. And he doesn't try to persuade the reader to read them, just says that they might find them helpful. And then finally, buy a mountain bike. Well, they're not specifically trying to get the reader to buy a mountain bike. They just say ride a Greyhound bike, not a mountain bike. They say that you can do track riding as well as riding through mountains. So the correct answers here, what is the writer trying to persuade the reader to do? Well, they're trying to persuade them to buy a Greyhound bike and to cycle for charity. Question 11. Using evidence from the section headed You Can Keep Your Goals Manageable, why does the author of document 2 think that cycling allows for manageable goals? So we need to look for the heading You Can Keep Your Goals Manageable, and we need to find out why the author thinks that cycling allows for manageable goals. So what reasons do they give? So if we have a quick look at the document and we find you can keep your goals manageable, they say that the amazing thing about cycling is you can choose when you do it, and that is a reason why they think that cycling is a manageable goal. You're not tied to set hours, you can choose when you do it. You can choose to ride it a certain distance per week, and you've got flexibility and peace of mind. So you can choose when you do it, which gives you this sort of flexibility and peace of mind that makes your goals manageable. So the student has correctly identified that you can choose when you do it is one reason that the author gives that cycling allows for manageable goals. Question 12. Which one of the following bicycles would be best for someone entering the long ride event? So we've got Peak 10, the City Light, Milestar or Swift Hound 6. So we need to read the text and find the different types of bicycle that are listed here. And then we need to identify which one is best for someone entering the long ride event. So we also need to scan the text for the long ride event. So we need to find the bicycles, the long ride event, and then choose which bicycle is the most suitable. So the different kinds of bicycles are mentioned in this column on the right here. And it says what each of the bikes are good for. Now we need to find the long ride event, and it says the long ride event is a long distance cycle over flat terrain. So we need to find a bicycle that will be good for long distances over flat terrain. So we've got mountains. Mountains are definitely not flat terrain, so it's not Peak 10. A commuter bike, that's for getting around in the city. Milestar is perfect for long distance cycling. So that's the one that we need. A long distance cycle, we need the Milestar. And Swift Hound 6 is for racing. So not an appropriate bike there. So the correct answer is the Milestar bike. Question 13. Identify 3 biased phrases in the You Will Love Your New Bike section of document 2. So here we need to look at document 2, specifically at the You Will Love Your New Bike section, and we need to identify 3 phrases that are biased. Now, a biased phrase will have strong opinions for or against something, usually based on someone's background or their interests. So for example, a bike company would want people to buy their bikes, so they would have a strong bias towards cycling. So we're going to find the You Will Love Your New Bike section and try to identify 3 phrases that are biased. So the section is here, and some biased phrases. If we have a scan through, we will see that people stick to goals better when they enjoy themselves, so you'll be enjoying cycling. That's quite a strong opinion for cycling. And then they say cycling is hard work. That's a strong opinion as well, a biased opinion. And then they say, but we don't think you will even notice these when you're soaring on your new Greyhound bike. That's another biased opinion, trying to convince people that buying a new Greyhound bike will stop them from noticing steep roads, uneven paths, and the difficulty of cycling. And then they say that you don't have to worry about anything. That's another biased opinion there that is trying to convince the reader to buy a bike. And finally, the more you learn about looking after your bike, the more confident you will feel riding it. So trying to convince people that they will feel confident is quite a biased opinion there, trying to sell these bikes. So the students identified 3 biased phrases: cycling is hard work, we don't think you will even notice these, and the more you learn about looking after your bike, the more confident you will feel riding it. So these are biased because they are strong opinions. Question 14. Document 1 says don't expect lasting change for at least 3 months. What are 2 things the author of document 2 says that shows he disagrees with this? So in this question, we need to look at both document 1 and document 2, and we need to find 2 things that the author in document 2 is saying that disagrees with this statement. So don't expect lasting change for at least 3 months. So anything that disagrees with this would suggest that we can expect some lasting changes in the first 3 months of making a resolution. So the student has identified 2 quotations, 2 things that the author of document 2 says that shows he disagrees with this statement here. So we've got try it for 1 month and watch as your resolution becomes an unshakable habit. So here the author of document 2 is suggesting that you can form an unshakable habit, a lasting change, and it will only take just 1 month. So it won't take at least 3 months. So that's disagreeing with that phrase from document 1. And then in a matter of weeks, you'll create a lifestyle that will last forever. So this quotation similarly suggests that it just takes weeks rather than 3 months to create a lifestyle that will last forever, to create a lasting change. So here we've got 2 correctly identified quotations that disagree with the quotation specified from document 1. Question 15. Compare views from documents 1 and 2 on how interacting with other people can affect success in keeping resolutions. So in this question, we need to look at both documents and we need to compare the views. So find similarities and differences between both of them. And we're specifically focusing on the topic of how interacting with other people can affect success in keeping resolutions. So we're focusing on interactions with others. So the student has written that document 1 discusses how partnering up with someone can boost the likelihood of seeing things through and keeping up with resolutions. Similarly, the writer of document 2 states that some people find it easier to meet their targets if they do it with friends. However, only document 2 says that some may also find it more helpful to do it alone. So we're focusing here on interacting with other people, partnering up with someone, and doing it with friends. And we're equally talking about document 1 and document 2. And we're definitely comparing their views. We're saying we've found a similarity here and we found a difference, saying only document 2 says that some people might find it more helpful to do it alone. So we've given a good summary, an accurate summary of both of the documents, and we've compared their views on interacting with other people to succeed at keeping resolutions. So giving both the similarity and difference here, we've given a really good comparison.